Today, on a special edition of Daily Blast Live, it's DBL's House Call. A panel of doctors are here to talk about one of the biggest medical breakthroughs in decades. Weight loss drugs have a real shot at fighting obesity, but do the risks outweigh the rewards? Then, a Bravo star is here to explain why she didn't hide her Ozempic journey. And a diabetic woman who was prescribed Ozempic years before the craze is here live. What was she told about the drug back then? That's all today on DBL's House Call. Welcome to DBL's House Call. Today we are talking all about one of the biggest medical breakthroughs in decades, a new generation of drugs that are changing lives and figures all across the country. Of course, we're talking about weight loss medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. And to help us with this conversation, we are joined not by one, but two Harvard-trained doctors, cardiologist and internal medicine physician, Dr. Payal Kohli, looking good in pink. And then we've got psychiatrist, Dr. Frank Anderson. And let's not forget, joining us from Detroit, where I was born, by the way, our favorite holistic plastic surgeon, Dr. Tony Yoon.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. So I'm glad that we have a whole hour devoted to this. In fact, it's been 3 years since the FDA approved Wegovy for weight loss. And in that time, it's estimated more than 15 million Americans have tried them. But these drugs remain controversial for a lot of reasons, so we're going to talk about it. Dr. Kohli, for a lot of people, in order to keep the weight off, they're going to have to be on these drugs for long term, right? Do we know, is it safe for long term? And just a disclosure to our viewers, we are aware, Dr. Kohli, that you do consult for one of these drug makers.
You know, Sam, this is the question we struggle with in medicine. When it comes to chronic disease management, we put somebody on something for the rest of their life. But we don't get the luxury in medicine to know whether or not it's quote unquote safe. So we use data in the short term to sort of impute the risk and benefits. So if you think about blood pressure medicine, if you think about cholesterol medicine, about diabetes medicine, we study it with short-term data, and then we put people on it for the rest of their life. So we're walking this tightrope all the time. But I would ask you, if you have obesity, which is a threat to your life and to your disease states, would you want to be on this medicine if you've got at least a good data set? And with this particular medication, even though it's been used for obesity only for 3 years, we've been using it for diabetes for 20 years.
There you go. I understand that this is for medical purposes, but vanity is very addicting, and I'm just being very honest.
Yeah.
One thing that I was told by a trainer the first year that I competed was, you're going to get addicted to the way that you look on stage.
She used to do fitness competitions.
Yes. So, and I understand that in a different way. So knowing it from that angle, but never having been obese myself, I would say I would have to figure out another path, but that's just because of the way that my psychology is.
So can I push back on you on that, Erica?
Please do.
So this
let me get my tea ready. Hold on.
Actually, we didn't even know this, but it helps treat addiction because it reduces that sort of reward from the addictive behavior. So I totally get your point, which is that we don't want this to turn into a vanity drug. And that's one of the reasons the FDA took so long to approve it after it was approved for diabetes, because it's for obesity only. But I think when people start feeling better about themselves, they change their behavior, they change how they're living, it moves them to a healthier place. Now, the difference between this drug and a hypertension or high blood pressure drug, you can see the effects. So that's where the vanity piece comes in, because people look different.
Right.
And that's the piece that we don't see with blood pressure, cholesterol medicine, or diabetes medicine.
Right.
And a number of the people that I've worked with in the mental health realm talk about, the voice in my head is gone.
Really?
I've been preoccupied with food my whole life.
Right.
Is this how normal people have a relationship with food? So this biological dysregulation that happens with eating issues is turned off with these drugs, which is huge for the people that have been struggling their whole life with it.
So
but
true.
Dr. Anderson, is there an off-ramp for getting off these drugs? Like, is there a clear path for people to not have to be on them for the rest of their lives?
Right now, we don't know of a clear off-ramp. Some people stop taking the medicines because they don't like the side effects or they choose to get off of them, and you always have that choice if this isn't working for you. The thing that I like to say to anybody about any medication is stop it slowly and stop it under medical supervision. And from my perspective, from the mental health perspective, what happens every step of the way as you slowly taper off of this?
Right.
Super important to pay attention to the fears, the worries, the excitement, all the things that happen. Slower is better when getting off any medication.
But Dr. we got to bring you in here because these drugs cause rapid weight loss. So what kind of effects does this have on your skin and your appearance? Have you had to deal with this with some of your clients?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you lose weight, whether it's through Ozempic, natural means, or surgery, typically people do notice loose skin. And it really comes down to the amount of weight you lose. For some people, losing 10, 20, 30 pounds, you may not notice it in your skin at all. Most people, once you get past about that 30 to 40 pound mark, that's when you really start noticing that the skin doesn't quite sit or hang on your body quite as much.
Well, what about when people, like for instance, do people look different after losing weight with weight loss drugs versus losing it naturally through surgery?
So it does not appear that losing weight, let's say through Ozempic or Mounjaro, Wegovy, that's going to cause you to look any different than had you lost it through a different means. I think what is key, though, is the speed at which you lose weight. Not necessarily what you do to lose the weight sometimes, but the speed. And the faster that weight comes off, it's believed that the more potential loose skin that you might notice afterwards.
Yeah. Coming up on this special edition of DBL, we are talking with a reality star who has first-hand experience using weight loss drugs. She'll be here live to explain how she lost more weight than she ever anticipated. But not everyone has a great experience. We'll talk about the dark side of these medications as well. Welcome back to DBL's House Call. We all know that weight loss with the use of drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro have become super popular, and our next guest knows firsthand how quickly they work. Please welcome to DBL Shahs of Sunset star Gigi Gadachadaki.
Wow, you did a great job with my last name. Thank you.
You got it, girl.
Oh my goodness! I was like, "Is that Gonessa?"
Yeah, she's looking
I haven't
good.
seen you in a minute. You look yes, it's so good to see you. So you talked about losing more than you were anticipating. What was your initial goal, and how quickly did you lose the weight?
I definitely lost it a lot faster than I anticipated, and it was mostly in part because the weight that I was holding was caused by steroids because I have an autoimmune disease, and I was really amped up with a lot of corticosteroids for my inflammation. So I think it was a lot easier for it to come off. I didn't think it was going to be that rapid. I would say at 2.5 months, I was down 25 pounds. At 3 months, I was 108 pounds.
And the pressure to be thin is something a lot of stars mention as a reason that they go on these drugs in the first place. And we do know they're associated with anxiety and depression. Did you experience any of these side effects yourself?
I absolutely did not experience any anxiety or depression. And I have emphasized time and time again that I do believe the relationship with our doctors that are prescribing these medications are very important. And you have to just be extremely open and honest. It should not just be handed out freely. Even though I have said I do believe we are getting to the point where it will be just as available as Botox is on every single corner.
Ooh,
so
that worries me. I don't want it, just to be this vanity drug. Now, you currently are, though, considering getting off the medication. So how do you feel, Gigi, about the possibility of gaining weight back? Is that something that concerns you?
Absolutely. It concerns everyone who chooses to lose weight. So I think lifestyle is important, maintaining exercise, a good healthy habit. I didn't know this when I was doing it, and I do feel I got extreme muscle pain. I couldn't walk. I thought I had DVT in the back of my cab. I was getting MRIs. A lot of things happen. Coming off of it, it took me a while to be able to eat again because the acid reflux was so intense because I wasn't able to eat correctly or regularly for a while.
I am curious, though. You said you didn't have any mental side effects. We know that this can cause physical side effects like constipation, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. Did you experience any of those types of side effects?
Yes, I did. Nausea was a big one for me, and throwing up was a big one for me. I hate to say that I'm used to nausea because it's one of the worst feelings, but I have had an autoimmune disease which has me on medications for 15 years that caused nausea and vomiting. So I was sort of used to that. But the plus side was this took a lot of inflammation from my rheumatoid arthritis away. And my health and my numbers, everything got better with my doctor. So I'm seeing, and because of that, I began researching. But now I'm seeing how it's really improving people's health in many more ways than we thought. And I think that's important.
And what's really interesting, I'm glad you made that point about inflammation, because in the trials with heart disease, we saw that the inflammation markers actually came down before they even lost the weight.
Wow.
So it's incredible.
Absolutely. My rheumatoid, I have it in 44 joints, and I go monthly for infusions and tests and weekly injections. And all of a sudden I notice I have this energy. And it was a great feeling. So I was like, I'm okay throwing up just a little bit for this.
So, Gigi,
it's a choice.
It is
exactly.
a choice. It is a choice. But we appreciate your transparency, because a lot of people are deciding if this is the choice for them. So do you have any advice for other people considering starting Ozempic?
I don't want to be a walking double standard. I do believe that it's okay to want to lose weight. It's okay to want help and need something like a shot to help you lose the weight. But it's really important that you stay close with your doctor. This is not something that should be handed out so freely, especially because it's so new of a thing for weight loss. So I think build an intimate relationship with your doctor. Be honest about your issues and what your goals are. And you know what? Good luck to you. I'm not against it. I'm for it. I'm for people's benefit and health and being safe more than anything else.
I think that's great advice, Gigi. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your personal experience. To our audience, to keep up with Gigi, follow her on Instagram. Thank you again, Gigi. Coming up on this special DBL's House Call episode, our doctors are answering your viewer questions about weight loss drugs. For instance, is it safe to microdose Ozempic? But first, Dr. Coley is talking about the dark side of these drugs. Will you gain the weight back when you stop taking it? We're going to break it all down. Welcome back to this special episode of DBL. We just heard from someone who found a lot of success on weight loss medication, but not everyone has a good experience, okay? Joining us to talk all about this is Big Brother star and wife to our very own Jeff Schroeder, Jordan Lloyd. Woo! Jordan, we love you. We know I follow you, and I'm a dear friend of yours. I've been following your vacation in Cabo. So here's the thing, and you look glowing, you look gorgeous. But we do need to hear your own experience, especially because we've only heard just recently these thriving and amazing reviews. So you've tried the weight loss medications twice.
Yes.
Talk to us about some of the physical side effects and even some of the symptoms that you experienced.
Okay, so the audience knows I have tried semaglutide and tirzepatide. I made sure I say it right.
And that's
Dr.
Wegovy
Coley.
and Mounjaro, or Zepbound, and Ozempic.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And some of the physical side effects, headache. My mouth always felt like I was sucking on a penny, like a metal taste.
Ooh, I don't like a metal taste.
Burning tongue at 4 weeks with both medicines.
Burning
at 4
tongue?
weeks. That's what I was asking Dr. Coley. Is that, that's so weird to me that my tongue would burn. My taste was always off. Did I say headaches?
Did you get nauseous at all?
Yes, I was nauseous when I upped my dose. And I feel like when I upped my dose, that is when I started really experiencing all the side effects.
What about mental symptoms?
Anxiety, anxious, paranoid. I would be at Lawson's lacrosse game or dropping Leighton off at school. And I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to walk in school. I'm so anxious.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing to myself? I would be at the games watching Lawson. I'm like, I can't talk to any of the parents. I had to like step away to the side. I don't know why I was feeling that way.
So and that's not like Jordan.
Yeah.
We know Jordan. That's not like her.
So let's break it down. It's interesting you said about the taste, because this is a phenomenon called Ozempic tongue, where about 4 out of 1,000 people get a change in their taste buds, and some have decreased sensitivity to sweet. But for some people, my patients have told me, they eat a piece of dark chocolate, it tastes like bitter, or it tastes metallic. Yes. And so what we think is happening, one of two possible things: the hormones are changing and changing our taste receptors, or it's in our brain and it's changing our sensitivity to sweet. So that's not an unusual one that I've heard from you.
What about menstrual? My menstrual cycle was all over the place.
So Jordan, you told me you lost about 20 pounds in
did.
those 6 weeks. So when we lose weight that rapidly, it can cause menstrual irregularities. And in fact, there's even a phenomenon called Ozempic babies, where women can get more fertile on Ozempic when they start to lose weight.
No, I have an IUD.
Jeff and Jordan. Okay, so Dr. Coley.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Speaking of that, you don't want to have sex when you're on. That's too much information.
No, it isn't. That's important. It kills your libido.
Well,
We
and
don't
it is
wanna
really
have
important
sex.
because we've talked about this before, how it turns down the reward signal in our brain. So it turns on reward from food. It turns down reward from life. So a lot of people actually withdraw from friends and social situations like you were suggesting, and it turns down reward from sex as
That's
well.
why Jeff's been so angry. Okay,
He's
Doctor.
just angry all the time.
Dr. Coley, if Jordan was your patient, how would you have treated her differently?
So a few things, Jordan. First, what I thought was really interesting that you said is when you went to the higher doses is when the side effects got much worse. So I don't push people to higher doses until they're extremely happy at a certain dose. So if I might have de-escalated you or given you what I call a holiday, take a break from Ozempic or Wegovy or Zepbound, Mounjaro, and then start you at a very low dose, even lower than the potential starting dose. So changing the dosing schedule, that's one way to get around it. Giving a holiday is another way. And one other thing is that you said you got your medication from the same woman who does your facials, right?
Yes, her friend.
Yes. So this is a perfect example of how there's this market out there we don't know.
I didn't know.
This is not something that's advertised because people are making a lot of money selling what's called compounded semaglutide or tirzepatide. These are not the real deal. They're dirty drugs. They have other side effects, and you're injecting them into you, so it even bypasses the liver where it kind of cleans up the drug for you.
I'm gonna have anxiety right now.
I know. And I'm glad, though, that we're talking about this, because I know that a lot of our viewers, because they've written in that they're either going to start taking these weight loss drugs or they are right now. So what other precautions would you tell them, Dr. Coley? Please, this is your chance.
So I would say if you've had thyroid cancer, if you have family history, you can't take this particular medications. If you have issues with something called pancreatitis, pancreatic inflammation, even gallstones, you want to talk to your doctor about whether or not it makes sense to take it. And if you already have problems with nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, you need to talk to them.
DBL Nation, be sure to check out Jordan and Jeff's podcast. It's so good. Together Mess, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you again, Jordan.
Thank
we
you for
appreciate you so much. We'll be right back. Welcome back to DBL's House Call. We love hearing from our viewers, and some of you actually have questions for our doctors. Lucky you. So Dr. Yoon, this one's for you. You're in the hot seat. Becca wants to know, how long after significant weight loss should I talk to a plastic surgeon about my loose skin? What would you say, Dr. Yoon?
Well, the big thing is you want to make sure that that weight loss has been stabilized. What you don't want to do is have a big operation like a tummy tuck or a breast lift and then lose 30 or 40 pounds afterwards. So I usually recommend giving yourself at least 6 months where you know your weight is stable. It's at a level that you can maintain. You feel healthy and good at that weight. That's a good time to meet somebody.
Excellent advice. One more question, and this one is for you, Dr. Coley. Molly sent this one in. I've seen a lot of people talking about microdosing Ozempic. Is that healthy?
It's funny, I just had a patient the other day who shared a podcast with me on microdosing. So sort of makes sense scientifically if you think about it, right? A tiny little dose of that medicine can take away all the addictive behaviors, can help you keep the weight off without having as many side effects. But here's the caution. It's not been studied at all. So we have no idea when you put a tiny dose of Ozempic inside of you exactly what it's doing to your brain, to your gut, to your organs, to any of those things, whether it's safe and whether it's effective.
Sounds good.
Well, I know, it does sound really good. People are microdosing everything.
I was just going to say, did you see the excitement there? This is the problem.
You saw my face, right?
This is the problem.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
ooh,
Yep.
I could do this too. Like, we got to remember these medications are used for a certain population, but this is the risk, is everybody gets super excited. I could take a little, and then I can have all those things happen for me. This is what we're working on. So thank you for that reaction. It's helpful.
All right, we have so much more to talk about on DBL's House Call coming up. A woman who had a stroke and heart attack before getting on Ozempic will be here live. She's telling us how it transformed her entire life. And we've all heard of Ozempic face, yes, but how else can weight loss drugs affect our appearance? Dr. Yoon will talk all about it. Welcome back to DBL's House Call. We love hearing from our viewers, and some of you actually have questions for our doctors. Lucky you. So Dr. Yoon, this one's for you. You're in the hot seat. Becca wants to know, how long after significant weight loss should I talk to a plastic surgeon about my loose skin? What would you say, Dr. Yoon?
Well, the big thing is you want to make sure that that weight loss has been stabilized. What you don't want to do is have a big operation like a tummy tuck or a breast lift and then lose 30 or 40 pounds afterwards. So I usually recommend giving yourself at least 6 months where you know your weight is stable. It's at a level that you can maintain. You feel healthy and good at that weight. That's a good time to meet somebody.
Excellent advice. One more question, and this one is for you, Dr. Coley. Molly sent this one in. I've seen a lot of people talking about microdosing Ozempic. Is that healthy?
So sort of makes sense scientifically if you think about it, right? A tiny little dose of that medicine can take away all the addictive behaviors, can help you keep the weight off without having as many side effects. But here's the caution. It's not been studied at all. So we have no idea when you put a tiny dose of Ozempic inside of you exactly what it's doing to your brain, to your gut, to your organs, to any of those things, whether it's safe and whether it's effective.
I thank you all. In fact, Dr. Yoon, we thank you, appreciate you, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Coley. And before we go, we want to let our viewers know where they can follow each of you to find out more. So follow Dr. Coley on social media at Pio Coley MD. Also, be sure to subscribe to her YouTube page and check out her podcast, Heart of Medicine, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Pick up Dr. Frank Anderson's memoir, To Be Loved, available everywhere now, and follow him at Frank_Anderson MD, and get a copy of Dr. Yoon's book, Younger for Life, and be sure to follow him on his social media. Oh, this was so amazing having you all here today. We thank you all, and to our viewers as well. Thank you so much. Sending in your questions, everything. We couldn't have done it without you. We hope you all have a great day.